All right, yo, welcome back to the Who's Right podcast, and we won a game. What? It's all hope is back. Let's go. We're ready to go. We're gonna go 100 and whatever. No, we won a game finally. But before we get into it, uh, everybody, like, subscribe to the channel, like this video, give us your comments as we're going through and talking about it. Victor, how you doing?
Hey, I'm on top of the world right now. We actually won a game, and that's all we needed to get going. Now, I think the momentum's going to start shifting in the Mets' favor. Maybe this is the spark that we needed to get going. But obviously, bad baseball was played before that, and it doesn't. This past win doesn't erase all the negative that happened leading up to it. But I'm not going to be like the rest of y'all, kind of you know, still sulking in the Mets sorrows, but I'm gonna celebrate this win for as long as we have it until tomorrow night.
Absolutely, absolutely. But before we get into it, let's review the last series. We had both games today, and there wasn't much of anything going on, to be honest with you, on both sides. Not a lot of offense. Detroit pulled out two games in extra innings, but it really was not a lot of offense in this game, in this series, at all on both sides. You had Detroit explode for two innings against Tompkin. But other than that, there wasn't a lot of offense. I would say um, no one stood out. so so we can't even talk about who stood out on either side. Um, you know, um,
Well,
the only thing that I can say for a Mets killer was the Mets offense.
yeah, now you got that right, but I do have to give some credit to the Tigers bullpen in their pitching altogether because they've got some young guys that they rolled out there to start all three games, and they kind of kicked our butts in that sense. Like none of their stuff was bad per se. Obviously, with some stuff that we could have hit and kind of exposed to an extent, especially in that first game. We saw, um, you know, we saw what I thought was going to be a rally when we got on when we got two runners on, but it, it ended up faltering, and Olson ended up getting out of it and ended up pitching a lot better from there on out. But the pitching of the Detroit Tigers was something that I was not expecting, and I should have because they're a young team. They have all this young talent, and they're fiery, and they've got these great arms, especially in the bullpen. I can't remember where I saw it, but it said that they've let up one run in the past 12 innings of work. I think that they've put out there, and that's pretty impressive for a bullpen, period. If Tigers or not, and this is, I think, what we saw as a Mets team is that the Tigers aren't the same Tigers as that they were last year or 2 years ago. They're going to be very competitive for a playoff spot this year, especially in a weak Central Division in the American League. But I do have to say that that pitching did impress me, but the batting just wasn't there.
Well, and I don't know if I was as impressed, only because our offense, and we'll get to the concerns part of our podcast. I don't know if I was as impressed because the offense kept not showing up. We went. Gary kind of said it at the end of the towards the at the end of the broadcast. He said what was it, 14 innings that we went without a hit.
12 innings that we went without a hit, breaking a Mets record.
Yeah, and that I just saw a stat. um, that Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, and Jeff McNeil are 3 for 55 starting the season. And like I said before, I'm not too worried about Lindor because he's a notorious slow starter. He's done it the last few years. So he's one of those guys that just starts off slow. What was good out of today was that Nimmo started walking again. So he had a bunch of walks today, and that kind of made me feel a little bit better about Nimmo. Because one of the things that was concerning me is the strikeouts with Nimmo, and he kind of shut the door on that. These couple games he walked a lot, but the real concern, to be honest with you, is McNeil. Is McNeil not the same McNeil anymore? Is he done? Is it really that the short spring training that he had? We really don't know because we got to give him more time. But that's a real concern because this offense is is there's 5 spots right now in the offense that are not producing. Right? We got Nimmo, Lindor, McNeil, the combination of Bader and Taylor, and the DH position. Obviously, the DH position is gonna soon be remedied with JD coming up. But again, those are 4 spots out of our lineup that's not producing at all.
Yeah, and I like what they did with the DH today in the second game, to be honest. Better than having DJ Stewart fill that position. Stewart, although not much worse than our stars on the team, than Brandon Nimmo and Francisco Lindor, still hasn't recorded a hit in his major league appearance in this 2024 season. And I think it's better to just have those guys that we know that are going to be playing full time, then have a guy like DJ Stewart fill that void, um, and try to save a place for um, uh, JD when he comes up. Because there's no point in playing him at this point if he's not going to produce anything. Might as well have what you did today, where Tyrone Taylor or is getting that at bat because we saw how much that paid off when he was able to play. Harrison Bader, they can switch off maybe. Brandon Nimmo got to sit on the get some rest, and sometimes it might be Marte until JD's ready, or sometimes it might be Alvarez when we want Narvaez to get some at bats in. But until JD comes, this is what we should have been doing this whole time. And it's just kind of disappointing. I know it's still early in the season, but there's some things that Mendoza has done, some decision making that I have concerned me. But it is still early, and this is his first time managing a big league team, and so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and not going to bring the doors down on him yet. But McNeil is concerning, like you said. But also, I will give him also a benefit of the doubt because it's early, and no one else is hitting. And I feel like once we get things going, McNeil is a kind of an emotional player, and so I mean we saw that, and I think once everyone else is going, he'll be able to get right behind that horse too. But we know what kind of hitter McNeil is. He's an average loop guy that's not going to give you a lot of power, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to get on base. Whether it's on high leverage situations, that part I don't know, and it might just have to be like he bats the 9 hole, and he's batting for high average, and he's backing up Brandon Nimmo, getting on base for him towards the end of the lineup. But all these guys don't look good right now.
Yeah, but that's the key thing with McNeil is that he is an average guy, and because he doesn't walk. We already know he doesn't walk, so we can't talk about walks with McNeil. And McNeil's an average guy, so if he doesn't have the average, he's not a value. There's no value there, and that's the concern right now with McNeil is that he needs to get it going. Like I said, you know, we still have concerns with the top of the lineup, but um, Nimmo kind of showed some life with the force field around him, getting those walks again, and Lindor, again, he's a slow starter. I'm not surprised that he's not hitting. I'm a little surprised at how much he's not hitting, but but I'm
Just
not surprised that he's at a slow start because that's who he is. He's always been that guy. Pete's holding his own, and Beatty's holding his own, showing some good defensive prowess out there. Getting that confidence up. You kept talking about his confidence, and it looks like that's starting to pan out. His confidence is building, and it's actually showing in his play.
Yeah, I've always believed in the kid, and I wasn't with these haters that were writing him off early. But I will say, last thing on McNeil that I'll mention is that it seems like he's getting a little bit of a shorter leash than these other guys at the top of the lineup, and I don't know if that's because they don't trust him to get his groove back, and so that they're trying to slowly phase him out. But I'd like to see him get a little bit more of a leash batting in that 9 hole because he's going to be a part of this team for the foreseeable future. I don't think any of these guys are ready to come up uh, as soon as tomorrow to replace him. But and so he's going to play, and we saw how Joey Wendell doesn't provide as much defensive um, um, upside as we thought he would. So let him figure out his stuff down at the 9 hole, like I said in the last episode, and give him more of a longer leash than playing him every other game because I don't think he played. He didn't start the second game, and he didn't start the first game. Or there's already 2 games that he missed this year, and that's kind of like shocking to me that they bench him this much. And maybe that's just to get him and his mental side right. Maybe he said that he wanted to do that, but I don't think that's McNeil. And so I
Well,
think he needs to get back on the field as much as he can until he figures it out.
well, I don't know because I do agree with you. It does seem like he's getting a short leash, um, but I don't know if if it's true that the guys that are coming aren't going to be ready. You're right. The foreseeable future could be just April and May, right? In June, we could if we're still seeing McNeil, this McNeil, we're going to see one of the kids up in June.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
just like Bader got a couple of at bats until he got benched pretty much. I think McNeil has deserved a little more than Bader got, So I want to see him be able to at least fight for his position and fight for a spot. Because what are we going to do with him? We signed him for 5 years, and he's going to be on the team for 4 more years. And because I don't know if he's got any trade value with the way he's playing right now. So let him figure out his stuff. Because he's not. I don't. Does he have an option still? I don't think so, and he's not going to be able to go back down. And he's not. Well, point is, he's not a prospect anymore. He's an established player that needs to figure it out for him to actually have some trade value. So might as well figure out his stuff now, so that when these other guys say you don't want to play him, call these other guys up, and you can trade McNeil away for a high A prospect or a double A prospect and get something in return rather than just dropping him for the way that he's playing now. But
So like I said, he has 2 months. I've been clamoring all off season that McNeil was the guy that needed to be traded, and it's coming it's coming to roost. You're seeing that McNeil might not be the same McNeil that we've all we got used to, that we fell in love with. We fell in love with the guy that hit line drives, that hit for average, that fought at every at bat. You know, he's at the point where he's not even fighting in the bats. You know what I mean? It's one thing to maybe be popping out, be in a slump and what have you, but he's not even fighting. in at bats anymore. McNeil was notorious for having long at bats until he got his pitch. We're not even seeing that from McNeil, which might be part of the problem, because he's popping the ball up, so I do think they're going to give him a shot, because you're right. They gave him a contract for a few more years, but it's not a contract that's going to hold us, keep us, like you said. They're giving Limo and Lindor a longer leash, but that's because they're signed for longer. Those guys are going to be here for a while. McNeil's only here for a few years, and it's not a big contract. So I do think that if he doesn't start producing, he will get replaced by one of the prospects. And whether we get something back for him or not, I don't think that's going to matter, because his contract is not one of those contracts that are very hindering to the process.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, he's on my fantasy, so I hope he puts it together. But one guy that you mentioned before, our boy Brett Beatty. I don't know why he's not my star player every time, because I drafted him last year in my fantasy, and I was hoping that he would put it together, but he was a subject to the Mets kind of downfall last year as well. But he's one of those guys opposite of McNeil that's putting passionate at bats together. Even when he's striking out, he's there arguing with the umpire on. Well, he got some pretty bad calls a couple of times, but he's still showing some fight. He's not just bending down and taking it. He's actually um, passionately putting together at bats and playing the field well as well. That was his biggest concern coming into this, was can he play defense as well as he hits his bat as well as he bats. And he's gotten a couple of outs that are been pretty impressive. And I've loved what I've seen out of Brett Beatty. I hope that he continues to stay confident, because when he's confident, we saw that he knows he's got an eye at the plate. He's the one who scored our winning run today, and I think he can be very impactful for this team. Because he batted fifth today, and if we and
no,
when
he was cleanup in the second game.
that's right, he was cleanup in the second game, and if he can stay that same caliber player down in the 7 hole, man, that extends our lineup so much.
Well, and let's get into it. Let's get into the who's right part of the podcast, and as far as Brewers players, there wasn't really anybody that really stood out. Like I said, we kind of opened up. I do feel like the Mets killer was the Mets offense more than anything else. And so, but on the Mets side, man, 2-0, man. Alvarez was the guy again.
Yeah, I don't know if how I keep on letting you pick Alvarez. I feel like you should change it up each time to make it fair. But no, I mean when it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Well, you're the one that goes first.
I know. And you know who I've relied on? The guys that we need to win ball games. And that's why we've been losing these ball games. And so maybe I should rely on some of these younger kids that have more fire, like I said, Brett Beatty. But now you got it. 2-0 so far with your Francisco Alvarez.
Yeah. So let's keep it going. So there's not much to say, because there wasn't much of an offense for the Mets, right? So there wasn't much competition. It was really it was really the Alvarez and Beatty show. And luckily at the end, Alonso came through as well with the big time game time home run. Yeah. So I mean, there was not much to talk about there other than that Alvarez stayed hot. And so let's make this quick, man. Let's get into the Cincinnati series. We got Quintana going against Green tomorrow night, or tonight when you hear this. On Saturday, we got Severino and Martinez, and a pretty intriguing matchup on Sunday. We got Minaya and Abbott, two lefties, and I like Abbott. He's a good guy. Good pitcher. I don't know him as a person, so I don't know if he's a good guy, but
Well,
he has good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that Sunday game for sure. Obviously the Cincinnati Reds have an awesome offense, right? It's this is going to kind of wane on us if our guys aren't doing anything. We're going to get down pretty quickly, to be honest with you, because Cincinnati can score. There are a couple guys on their lineup that are pretty good. But what do you think of the matchups coming up?
yeah, and like you mentioned, Abbott, he's a guy from our neck of the woods in Virginia, so that'll be exciting to see a Virginia guy pitch, and but none of these guys are special. I'll say that. Like none of these guys stand out, are are killers, are aces, and that are going to put us away early. So if we want to break out our offense, this is the series to do it. Like these guys don't pitch as well as some of these other teams that we've seen, or at least as Detroit has, and even uh, that first series in Milwaukee. I think the Reds have the worst pitching out of those three teams, and we're going to be able to get on them if we're able to get the groove together. But it's got to start early. It's got to start early because the Mets get in their head too much, and if they're in their head, they're not going to get on them, and they're going to make these guys look like aces when we go out there. But we saw this past series, these guys are in these past few games. Our pitching has been able to keep us in games, and so that's made me confident in just the rest of the year because I know that we have a good lineup, and I know that we can put it together. And the thing I was concerned about was the pitching, and if the pitching can keep us together, we just got to put it together. We just got to be able to hit the ball.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree with you. Their pitching is not lights out. Nick Martinez, I believe, has 5 ERA right now, so that's definitely hittable. Hunter Green, high 3 ERA, and Abbott also in the threes. So you're right. They're not a very scary pitching staff. So hopefully this win today relieved a lot of, they let go a lot of stress, right? And hopefully they they turned around with this win. Sometimes it just takes a moment for you guys, for guys to get back on track, and hopefully that Pete Alonso home run was that moment, right? Not only because of the home run, but because Beatty and Taylor kind of Beatty, Marte, and Taylor kind of backed it up and kind of kept the momentum going. And so hopefully they keep the momentum going, and we'll see a better um, 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 batting order. I like what they did, the changes that they did, what Mendoza did to the batting order. He finally stopped worrying about, because I'm with you. Stewart should have never been behind Alonso. He was a guy that was never going to make the roster until we signed Martinez and be a temporary guy at that. And so why are we even playing him behind Alonso? That makes no sense to me. So I'm glad they quit that experiment, because and they quickly moved on from the McNeil experiment at being that cleanup. I think it was 3 games too late, because I think if Alvarez was behind Alonso in the Milwaukee series, we might have taken one or two of those games, because there were plenty of times where Alonso came up, was on base either at first or second, and Stewart came and did nothing, and that happened every single time. So I'm glad that they made the changes, but I hope they can keep the momentum going. So So now that we kind of did a little kind of preview, we don't need to, get into the De La Cruzes, the Steers, and Indias, and all those guys, because we already know that Cincinnati has a strong lineup. So before we get to who could be the potential Mets killer, who do you think is going to stand out? Well, actually, no, 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 no. I'm going first. I'm going first. Let me
You got
go
it.
first.
You got it,
Because
man.
you
You
know what
got
I'm
it.
gonna do. You know what I'm gonna do. You
I
know what
already
I'm gonna
know.
do.
Okay, go ahead.
Alvarez is my guy. I'm gonna keep riding the hand that's feeding me right now. Alvarez is gonna stay hot.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, why change something if it ain't broke? So, that's a good pick. I think Alvarez will stay hot as long as they play him, and I hope, at least for our sake, that he stays hot. But I hope that these guys start to put it together. I'm not going to lose faith in Francisco Lindor. I'm not going to lose faith in Brandon Nimmo, but I'm not going to go with him this time. I'm going to go with somebody that can really power us through and put us over the top, just like he did today. I think that I'm torn between Beatty and Alonso because I love Beatty, man. Like I said, that's my guy. I've believed him from the beginning, and I think he's shown a very good eye at the plate and a very uh, disciplined plate. He's shown a lot of plate discipline every time he's out there. Pete, not so much. He's been a little swing or miss a lot of the time, where he's chasing things outside of the zone. Beatty does too. Beatty does too,
Hey,
but
that home run that Alonso hit was he basically picked it off the ground. So
that's what I'm saying, man. And that's why I'm so tempted to go with him as my Mets savior this series. But I'm gonna go with Beatty. I'm gonna ride the Beatty train, and I'm gonna say that he's gonna keep on staying hot. That the kids are gonna ride us, are gonna push us over the edge this series, but also carry a couple of our veterans back to confidence and to where they need to be. So these kids might need to lead the way this time around, so that these vets can get behind it and ride the wave. So let's see some things out of these kids this time, and Beatty and Alvarez, and hopefully they're batting back to back so they complement each other.
yeah, yeah. I hope they keep the lineup the way it is. I think the lineup until JDM comes up. I think the lineup is it should be the same lineup. Um, you know, and the guy that again, he's not doing much better than Bader, but I actually would love to see Taylor over Bader in the starting lineup. He's not doing much better, but at least his our bats are better.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think.
No, absolutely. Even though Bader got a hit today, Tyrone seems like he's able to steal more bags, right? He's got that speed, and or like you said, that skill to steal more bags. And his defense is just as well. It's not as good as Bader's, but it doesn't need to be as good. He can play the field, and if he's putting together better at bats, he got us the win today. So let's see more of him. And like I said, uh, don't play DJ Stewart. Play both of them if you need to. Bat him in the DH spot. But why not? Why bench the guy when he's hot right now? This is the conversation what we had with Vientos, right? If he's playing well, might as well keep on playing him until he proves you otherwise.
Yeah, no, and I'm surprised by that. To be honest with you, I thought that's what they were going to do. That they were going to use that spot to give Nimmo and Marte some more rest and play more of Taylor and Bader in the same lineup instead of having DJ Stewart back. Because at the end of the day, I've said it before and I'm gonna say it again. DJ Stewart was never going to make this roster, right? If it wasn't for JDM, he wouldn't be on this roster because Vientos would have made the roster. So I don't understand uh, why is he even playing? You know, so I I'm agree with you. Why don't they keep it going? Use that DH spot right now because we're going into a stretch. 15 games. Starting today, with the doubleheader, 15 games in 14 days. And why aren't we using it to rest Marte, to rest Nemo, and give those guys a breather? So I hope we see more of that because there is no point of starting DJ Stewart. It doesn't make any sense. Didn't mistake did it, because I remember the season preview pod. I was like, yeah, DJ Stewart made the team, but I don't see him playing a lot. And to my surprise, he's playing a lot for some reason. Because I'm with you. I thought they were gonna have Taylor play it. Give some guys some rest. Let Alvarez be DH. In a couple games. And so I'm baffled by how much DJ Stewart has played. To be honest with you.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And like we keep on pointing to, if he's not going to stay long, there's no point in waiting until he gets hot because it doesn't matter. He's not. He's already played 6 games or 5 games. Sorry, and he's hasn't or 6 games. Yeah, he played all 6 games so far. I think
Uh, I,
got benched one.
I don't know if he got into the game today.
Yeah, well, he's played enough where we know what we got with DJ Stewart, and we don't need to know what we got because we know who's coming up, and so just like we said, keep on riding the wave, keep these guys healthy. If you want to pinch hit him at some point, then do that. But he doesn't provide anything defensively, nothing offensively as well either. So there's no point in keeping him on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get to the Mets killer portion. Who do you think out of the Reds has the potential of being a Mets killer?
Oh man, I thought you were going to go first this time, so that I didn't have to choose out of these killers in the lineup. But um,
I
you
can
know,
go first, man. If you need me to go, I can go first. I already got my guy. I know who I'm picking.
well, if you already got your guy, then you can go ahead. I know what's going to kill the Mets, but I haven't decided who's going to kill the Mets yet.
I'll say it real quick. Spencer Steer is the guy that I'm picking. I love Dela Cruz. He's got to get it going for the Reds, but Spencer Steer is a guy that's been consistent since last year, doing his thing. And he just keeps going. And so I think he's a guy that is just going to keep it going. But hopefully, because he might be the only guy that keeps it going. Not the only guy, but at least like you've mentioned before, sometimes lineup construction matters. Because Spencer Steer could be killing it, but if the guys around him aren't, it doesn't really matter because he's going to be the only one, and Mets are going to win some ball games.
Yeah, and it's been interesting because the he's been batting kind of lower in the lineup too, and so some of the guys that I think have been producing a little more have been batting a little lower, but that's just a testament to how tough this Reds lineup is. Like, you can't move India from leadoff because he's a quick guy um, that he was he was good a couple of years ago, and I think he still has a chance to be pretty good. One of those guys that we are hoping to see this offseason traded over to the Mets because he is a Mets fan, or his family's a Mets fan, and that would have been cool to see him over here. But it's tough down the line. And one of the guys that I was going to choose was batting fifth just a couple of days ago, and he's a guy grew up in our neck of the woods again in Frederick, Maryland, and uh, he's been off to a hot start as well. He's batting 500 so far. He's stolen a couple of bags, and um, he's driven in a couple of runs as well. Or no, he hasn't driven any runs so far. But Jake Fraley is on my radar to be the Mets killer this time around. And you know why? Uh, if I could choose a thing that is going to kill the Mets this series, it would be stolen bases. because the Reds are really good at stealing bags, and we saw how much that killed us in the first series. And I don't think they have anybody that's a true power hitter on their team. They're really a string together runs and steal bags kind of team, and Jake Fraley can Jake Fraley can do that, and he can both hit the ball and he can steal some bags. But and so I think he's going to be very impactful this series. But really, anyone who can steal a bag, I think, is going to kill the Mets.
Yeah, yeah. Well, well, let me write that down for win number three on my end. But guys, let me know what you guys think. Give us a comment. Let me know, who do you think that Mets killer is? Who do you think that's gonna do well for the Mets? And because your comments matter. So like and subscribe to the channel, like this video, and let us know what you think. Before we get out of here, Victor, any last words?
I think we get our first series win this weekend, man. I'm very confident that against this Reds team. I think that the Mets can do it, man. They gave me some hope, and it was so awesome to hear all of the Mets fans at the stadium this past week. Uh, and there, at some point in the first game against Detroit, you just hear a fan, you gotta believe," and that's just the motto of the Mets, right? You gotta believe, and I believe in this team all the way to the bitter end.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, guys, I do think that we're gonna start putting some hits together. So let's hope that does lead to a series win. But until the end of the next series, let's go Mets.
Let's go, Mets.